Hello, Annapolis. My name is Joel Dunn, and I'm going to be talking to you tonight about big data and how these massive and highly complex data sets are key to restoring the Chesapeake Bay. I was drawn to the magic of the Chesapeake Bay 15 years ago when I moved here, and my story really went storybook when I met my wife walking our dogs down at Acton Landing Park. We now have two beautiful daughters, and I run the Chesapeake Conservancy in West Annapolis. The Chesapeake runs from Cooperstown, New York to Virginia Beach. We have 18 million people living in this watershed, 100,000 streams and rivers, and it's the largest land-to-water ratio of any estuary in the world, meaning that what happens on the land affects the health of the Chesapeake. You'll agree it's a national treasure. Its sheer beauty of the Chesapeake is inarguable. As grand as the Grand Canyon, as wonderful as Yellowstone or Yosemite, as deserving of any of national park status. But we've got some serious problems in the Chesapeake Bay. Too much pollution in the form of nutrient and sediment entering our rivers and streams, leading to algae growth, which harms our fish, crabs, and oysters, and in some instances, humans. For the last 50 years, we have been involved in the largest, longest-running ecosystem restoration project in the world. We've invested billions, and the world is watching. That's Governor Harry Hughes there in the middle, who passed away last night. We're seeing signs of progress, though. Since in 2017, our underwater grasses recorded record growth. Our female blue crab population met our goals. Pollution was reduced. We had a minor setback last year with some rain and the impacts of that, but we're seeing progress. One of the key indicators, though, dissolved oxygen, which limits the bay's ability to support aquatic life, indicates we still have problems. We still have huge dead zones in the Chesapeake Bay. Our focus for the last 50 years has been primarily upgrading sewage treatment plants to tremendous results. But the focus of the next 50 years will be much more widespread. Individual farmers, neighborhoods, cleaning up individual streams. You see, agriculture, cities, septic systems make up 2/3 of the nitrogen pollution entering the bay. We've got to eat, right? And we need a place to live, but we also need to restore the bay. I think technology is absolutely essential for restoring that balance. So in 1965, Bob Dylan took music from acoustic to electric. He was booed, and people didn't understand what he's doing, but it was awesome. Music's never been the same. We're doing the same for conservation now. It's a brave new world. Information is power. Think about how big data has affected the banking sector or the healthcare industry. We're doing the same for the environment now. We call it precision conservation. This is a map of land cover data in downtown DC. It's not exactly Google Earth, right? This is data converted to computer code so modelers and governments can understand what's happening on the landscape. Until recently, this was the best data available for this mapping. We made things unfuzzy. We produced new data that's 900 times better. We can pick out individual trees. We trained the computer to know what's happening on the ground. This big data has huge ramifications for the effort to restore the Chesapeake Bay. Here's a night and day difference of the old data versus the new data for Eastport. Local officials now can manage tree canopy and Forest Conservation Act. They can leverage impervious surface and see how it's affecting urban stormwater pollution. We can help agricultural areas too. You see, the buffers on farmland are key to affecting or reducing the pollution to the Chesapeake Bay. This data will help us identify exactly where to plant the trees to slow the flow of pollution to the bay. But that's not all. We're working on identifying new data for stream mapping. You see, the old stream maps, we didn't even know where the headwater streams were, but now we do, to the centimeter. And think of them as the veins of the Chesapeake Bay. Now, if you think of like an MRI and how we can use an MRI to see what's happening inside our bodies and diagnose problems, this data can be used as an MRI for the Chesapeake landscape and pinpoint exactly where we have problems. In this instance, we can tell a farmer exactly where to plant a tree, where he can have the biggest impact on pollution at the lowest cost. That's precision conservation, bringing the right practices to the right place at exactly the right time, providing everybody with the data they need where it matters most, democratizing the knowledge for the conservation movement so we can help the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, the Anne Arundel County, the individual farmer. You know, my hero, E.O. Wilson, tells us that we really need to protect 50% of the planet in order to preserve biodiversity. I think we can do that with the aid of technology and partnerships. We're at 22% now in the Chesapeake. We can get to 30% by 2030 or 50% by 2050. Just imagine the legacy we'll leave for future generations by leveraging this technology for conservation. Thank you.